Welcome to the 7 Cents Podcast, where we go beyond dollars and cents to unlock the mindset beyond the money.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Macklin, aka Money Mike, the financial Thanos, because I'm snapping my fingers and I'm turning your financial problems to dust.
And I'm Coach RL, your money mindset coach. Mind right, money right, legacy locked in.
Guys, this is not your average financial podcast. We're breaking down money myths, mindset traps, and economic game plans.
We keep it real, raw, and relevant, from micro money moves to macro financial shifts.
This is a 7 Cents podcast where your mind meets your money. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the 7 Cents podcast. I am here, as always, with my co-host, the homie RL Simmons, the money goat. And guys, we got another one for you. In the last episode, it's funny because Rob, he talked about how he liked ruffling feathers, and somehow I like it too. Like, I enjoy it. And it's not to say that I'm naturally an instigator, even though I'm from Detroit and that's what we kind of do. And this is my personal teaching philosophy. I got to stir your emotions so that you don't forget the lesson. You know what I'm saying? Because if I just tell you something, it's probably going to go right out of your ear. But if I evoke an emotion, it's going to attach to that lesson. You're more prompt to learn that lesson. So that's not what we're talking about today. We're going to make y'all a little upset, but it's all in a good place. So I'm going to start this episode asking a question to the audience. Not yet, Rob. Not yet. I know he waiting. Not yet, buddy. All right. So the question is, I'm going to ask this. Why is it that society seems to be producing weaker men than ever before? Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and in a lot of cases, financially. A personal thought for me is I don't think it's by accident. I think this is by design. It's a systemic way to basically communicate that the powers that be, whoever it is that ultimately controls a lot of what's going on, they want you basically financially illiterate. They want you silent. They don't want you thinking much. And they basically just want you in a mindset of basically like, hey, look, I'm just here to serve whoever it is that is in that higher place. And I see it in a lot of what we get put in front of us on the television, relationships, conversations. A lot of influences are pushing men to become softer or less, aggressive or less, hungry to get out there and get after it. Instead, that's now being looked at as like you over the top, or a word that's being used a lot, toxic masculinity. And so today we're going to get into the weeds with this one, because I'm not telling a man how to live his life. However, what I am saying is, being that we are looked at as leaders and the backbone and all these things, we cannot allow our fire to be extinguished from within. And so that's the kind of the place I want to come from with this. So we're going to get right into it. Let's actually start talking about first. I want to kind of talk about how the dependency plays into this whole thing, how the system basically wants you dependent upon them. And I'm sure you all have noticed it, or if you haven't, I'm going to talk to you about it. It starts at school. It starts as early as childhood. They start with you early now. They don't give you a chance to even form a thought before they pushing this agenda on you. And it goes forward into the workplace. As you grow up, graduate school and everything, that narrative continues. So I'm going to ask Rob this. What is your experiences with that look like your upcoming versus what you're starting to see, I guess, your children be exposed to, especially in the school system, and how that may affect this point?
Yeah, let's start off with unpacking this, because I know exactly. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it, because I have like two angles of this, and I'm okay with expressing my side on both of them, because I generally agree. Let's talk about the system. Let's focus. Let's talk about the system. So from a macro economic perspective, this is what you are seeing. What you're seeing is somebody said our workforce isn't big enough. So how can we now remove the women out of the house and still continue to have them recreate and build a bigger workforce? That's what I see. And this is not what I know, is what I see. All right. So what they have done is, and they started with the black families, and let me take a step back. They started with the marginalized families, taking the women out of the household, by raising the economic bar, by saying, hey, a single man can't make enough to support an entire family, which is not entirely true, but at a middle class this is where we are, especially if you're having kids. So this means now that the wife, and I think it's been like this for a while, probably since the 50s or 60s for Black people, now that the wife has to go pick up a job, and that leaves us, the system, in charge to then raise your children so they can continue to do this, right? So the problem that I see, and I think the bounce off of the what does that look like? Now it has left our women to be stronger. I think women have always been strong. I think women are always have been like the catalyst of the family, like the backbone of the family. But in removing the backbone from the teaching, now you say you see it on TV, we put a lot of emphasis on equality. Not that it's a bad thing. Equality comes with, me and my wife talked about this last night. Equality comes with not being able to appropriately split a pie. So all of our roles and responsibilities need to be split into a pie. And if we feel like we're equal and we all can do the same things, now we're fighting for the same slice of the pie. And if we're all going to fight for the same slice of the pie, that means that there's going to be this whole piece of left over because me and you trying to get the one with the most pepperonis. And instead of being able to evenly divide and share and conquer this pizza, we're fighting over the same two slices, which then really just puts us at a disadvantage holistically. And that's when, somebody else comes in and says, hey, we probably need some other people to help you eat this pie, but you're going to have to pay for it, right? So now this is where Uber Eats and DoorDash and all of these other things come in. Now they're paying people to help you clean your house, cook, and now you thinking in a family that you have to afford all of these things when the fact of the matter is a long time ago, they told you that everybody in the house deserves the same two slices of the pizza, and now we got to figure out how to get rid of these other slices. I hope I didn't unpack that too much, but that is what I see. Is what I've seen is that we've created these men-women relationships, and then the men and the women can't split this pie evenly with responsibilities, and then it even rolls into same-sex marriages, in my experience, where you have two women who generally have tried to split the same pie, and they have the same problem that they both all want the same pie. Like, I want to stay home with the kids. No, I want to stay home with the kids. I want to work. Well, I want to work. Everybody wants the same pie. Even in same-sex men relationships, same problem. And so we've now created this level of equality that requires everybody to go work, and then somebody else take care of your kids. And when somebody else take care of your kids, they now have the ability to create whatever programming they see fit, which is everybody, let's look at this couple of slices of pie and go for it. And nobody ever splits the difference. Yeah, I'll step off. I'm sorry I took way too long to unpack that, but that's where we are in society, that everybody wants to do the same things, and now we can't divvy up the family work evenly.
Okay. I got you. All right. So something I've noticed, or a point I want to bring up is, how the weakened man is now being marketed. Like how a softer, gentler man is basically being marketed out there. I feel like what they're looking for now is for men to embrace things like just being normal, being passive, being mediocre, like just being average, emotionally just flat. And with that attitude of men being sold out there, how do you think that is affecting the men? And how do you, in turn, this softer, weaker man, how do you feel like it is impacting the household as a whole?
It's a big impact, definitely economically. Honestly, I see it in my house, and I'm trying to turn the tides on it. And a lot of the things, like I say, talk to my son and say, I teach him a lot of things, but I say, why are you starting to develop these habits where they're not manly habits? Like, hey, your mother's blowing a horn to go take all of the groceries out of the car. He gets all of the sisters, and then he disappears. It's like, where did you get that from? Like, where did you get? And that part is definitely being a man. But it's more than being a man. That part is being a leader, right? I want to be the leader. I want to be the first one. It's more of a competitive spirit. And I see a lot of it dying, especially because, again, we still have some of these same sex where they have been splitting the pie. But the man is taking such a bigger slice that he's not home all day. And so now you have these women raising men, and kids do what they see. And if the man is not around very often and the man gets home tired and he doesn't come home and teaches his sons or his boys what it looks like to be a man, and this has nothing to do with sexual orientation. And I'm saying this in front because I've seen some of the manliest men, some of the best leaders, and we don't have the same sexual orientation. So I know it's not false what I'm saying. Like, they are
Mhm.
leaders. They would be the first ones to open the door, lift the heavy stuff. That's just proper training. So that comes to the man also to have that communication with their partner, and that whether it's man, woman, their partner, to establish that role of leadership that a man should have regardless of his sexual orientation. But it is a specific role of a leader that they have and they should exude, to step out, be the one to lift heavy, be the one to be creative with the ideas, be the one to, like, something simple as like pick what we about to go to eat. Be the leader. I'd love to do it because sometimes it ruffle my wife feathers. Not me being a leader. I do just say, hey, I want some tacos. And she'd be like, I don't want tacos. And I was like, okay. So now I can put the ball back in your court, but there's a couple of things that I'm willing to deal with, and I can be a leader from this perspective. But I wouldn't want any point in time where both of us have the answer of, I don't know, right? Who's leading at this point? So just be accountable for being the type of leader that you are designed to be. And that is, you're naturally going to lift stuff and, open doors and things of that nature. So just your born role as man should still exude those things regardless of your sexual orientation.
Something I want to add on to that, and you touched on it with the whole slice of the pie and things like that. I think a lot of the goal of these tactics is to create confusion because, as they say, a confused mind does nothing. So for the man, when you start putting these things in front of a man that he's not accustomed to, or hold on, this doesn't make sense, you start to confuse his mind. I mean, I'm sure you've seen instances where, you know what I'm saying, you see something like, this don't make sense, you know what I'm saying? Or something that somebody's trying to tell you that you should be doing. It's like, hold on, that don't even make sense. Like, as a man, that don't make sense for me to be doing this, that, and the third. But I think the overarching point to that is, again, this attempt to create confusion in the household and just in the man's mind as a whole. And I think that confusion is what's really taking away that leadership from the man. And now when you lose your leader, you start to look, to other sources for that empowerment. You start to look for the TV, and now you're starting to see how a lot more children are being raised by these TVs now because they're looking at the TV and the TV's telling them what to do now. The TV's telling them how they should be. And like, a lot of it is crazy because I have smaller children as well. And we try to monitor what they looking at because low key children don't understand it. But you see what your children are watching. Sometimes you look at this and you look at the themes and you're like, hold on. You see what basically the program is trying to, tell these kids without telling them. And because their mind is not processing it yet, it's just that confusion. And it's starting that early too for these children. And that's the overarching thing here. I feel like this is just this attempt to confuse everybody in here. And then that confusion, well, now you're looking towards these other sources to say, okay, well, tell me what to do then. And I think this is a dangerous place for us to be. So with that, how do we guard ourselves from something like that as men? How do we look at this message, take this message and say, okay, hold on, I reject this and this is what I'm going to do instead?
I think Kendrick Lamar said it the best when he said, turn his TV off, right? Turn his TV off, because a lot of the programming, we talk about program all of the time, programming tells you what you think you need to see. And then it also, the schooling allows new social norms. You have to be present in your home as much as possible. When you're present, be present. So that means you need to turn your TV off and then create the culture in your home. Again, I'm not going to even say it's a struggle for me. It's a struggle for me since I've been here, but throughout raising my kids, I try to be the most present, A, because we homeschool, and B, because we homeschool, we got more TV time than everybody else. But me, I try to transition that to outside time, or man, sometimes the kids be hating when I come home and they watching some, what do they call it? They call it brain rot. They sitting there watching some brain rot. And I'll come on and put it on how to day trade, financial literacy 101. And it's some bogus cartoons look like from Magic School Bus or something. And they hate it. But I will sit and talk to my son about some of the things that he's done for the day and try to really reach out to him And then definitely when I see something that I expect, I call him on his bullshit. Like on the spot, that's an NCO thing. On the spot correction. We
Mm-hmm.
not, and then I don't try to deter him again because again, some of the things. Okay, so let me make this clear. So I think one of the biggest things that me and my wife kind of talked about, which was unique in the sense of, hey, when I say make an on the spot correction on the bull, like one day I seen him, run outside, go get the kids, and he came out and was like, I need to put on my shoes or my shirt. I'm like, you should have put on your shoes and your shirt and then went and got the sisters. Like, that was bold. I seen exactly what you were trying to do. On the other hand, like if he has on like black fingernail polish, I just ask him like, hey, what is that style? And I'm interested in it. Not that it's right or wrong. I just interested in what's going on. That part has nothing to do with being a man. Not at all. And you say what, 2 years ago, the number one quarterback in the NFL, regardless of his sexuality, wore fingernail polish. So that is just a thing. That has nothing to do with being a man. If we focus on the actions of a man instead of other stuff around it, then we can get back to where we want to be, which is leaders. The other piece to this that like I say, how I want to throw a wrench into the program is this is some trying times. And I also have 3 daughters, and I enjoy raising my very strong 3 daughters. And I think the problem isn't equality. It's that women have raised women have raised their bar and their standard, and they're doing such an amazing job that men have now become in the way because we haven't raised ours. And that's the problem, right? Women have stepped out and they stood on the table and they became leaders and they stepped up. They said what they wanted. Because we've already had this discussion of what the women said that they wanted, we should be meeting, beating, and exceeding those expectations and standards. And we're not, and they're surpassing us. And then in other households, it looks foolish because not that the woman is the leader, but the man's not even equal, right? So that means like, man, step your game up. It doesn't mean that you need to push the woman back down to cooking and cleaning. No, grab a fucking basket and make it happen. But at the same time, if you don't want to be folding clothes, then number one, you probably need to be making more money so you can get somebody else to fold these clothes. But 2, like, what are you going to do about it? Right? That's just that slice of the pie. She's clearly addressed that, she wants to work or she wants to be the leader of the free world. One of my daughters, she don't like to cook. Cool. All right, so let's hone these into other skills that is going to allow you to not have to cook. Because if you don't want to cook and you don't like cooking, you're definitely going to need some other skills. And when you come to a man and he expects that your slice of the pie is cooking, well, number one, you need to hash that out. Like, hey, bro, you need to marry a cook. Because we know from experience and worldwide that most men are chefs anyway. So that part kind of baffles me that women are expected to cook, but the best chefs and the men are claimed to be men. That those 2 things, there's a social disconnect there somewhere. So that's why soapbox. Focus. I just think men need to raise their bar. It's not about what the women are doing and women being impactful. And we talk about toxic masculinity. The toxic masculinity is coming from just being a man and think you deserve something. That's where that comes from. Without having earned any type of respect or do any man shit to then believe that your woman should be cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that even if let's talk about stay-at-home moms, what they call SAH, stay-at-home moms, right? If we want them to do the things that we say that they should do, they're probably working easily 14, 16-hour days. Probably more because they trying to get shit done when the kids do go to sleep. So as a man, you work your 10, 12 hours and then you come home and relax because you got to go to work tomorrow. But you have this person to your side working more hours than you. How do you deserve more? And then where are you helping out this person? Like, where is that happening at? Like, what are you doing? Like, are you affording, fucking daycare for 2 days? Now everybody knows my life. My wife, she take a trip every month, every 2 months, because that is reprieve time from the 18-hour days on top of being the business mom on top of, right? So my life is a little bit different. But as a man, I see that part and I see my role and my equally 16, 18 hours. Part of that needs to be ingraining culture into my household as a man. Like, my wife can't teach my son how to do man stuff. She can probably teach him how to do them fingernails all day, but that means that my crazy ass need to be the first one at the car taking the groceries out because he sees that. And then
Right.
when he sees that, kids only do what they see. So if you're gonna like put an imprint and a stamp and a new wave of expectation, that expectation is an action, is not words, voices, and expectations. It's actions. I expect you to. So then I'm expecting yo ass to do the dishes. Are you gonna do the dishes, right? If you expect me to cook, I expect you to be cutting onions, right? Like, because the economy was and the system has built our relationship status so differently, we need to relook at this piece of the pie and then start dividing it back evenly. Again, if you expect her to cook, then you need to be cleaning, doing the dishes, probably cutting the vegetables or something, because there's another slice to that pie, right? If you expect her to do the laundry, then you probably should do the folding or vice versa. Me, I like to take the sham way out because my back, I don't like going in and out and folding. And of course, we got 8 kids. So everybody, we've teaching them how to do their own individual laundry. And then when it comes to my my wife clothes, mine and my wife clothes, she washes them and throws them on the bed. That's my bat signal to go ahead and do my part. Right. But we have to look at the slice of the pies that we own and be accountable for them. And not only that, we looking at this slice of the pie, but be leaders, because I see it as a problem. And I'm glad my wife is very vocal in some of the things that I say, because I will state a problem, which is this is a part where I've grown as an individual. But she would state, I would state a problem. And, in a younger part of our marriage, she would just say, okay, what's the answer? And I was like, how come I always got all of these fucking problems and I ain't got no answers? Then I stopped coming to her with problems. I start coming and saying, hey, these clothes keep piling up. I don't mind if the clothes pile up, but just let me know, like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I can figure out how to ensure that all these clothes get folded. Another thing I used to say, the clothes is the easiest when you hang them up. Like, I want the clothes to be hung. And because I want the clothes to be hung, I'm gonna have to hang these fucking clothes. What I need you to do is not pull these clothes off the hanger. So I'm establishing not only what needs to happen, but pointing out my action. Now, I've also given her a piece of the pie. So as men, we should be stepping up and being the vocal leaders of dividing this piece of pie. Now, if you have like the full-time working woman and you're the man at home, again, same thing. If you're the cook, if you're the dad, kind of the same things apply. I think it's really cool, much cooler to be a stay-at-home dad, because you really are running point in the culture of your family. When the mom comes home, I think it's so tough for working moms that have stay-at-home dads and have daughters, because it's just the wheelhouse that I don't have all the answers for all of the time. But I got this bad boy.
Right.
I got
Right.
this bad boy, and I'm gonna call Nana and I'm gonna call my aunties, but use your resources. Use your resources.
Absolutely.
But they struggle because they're building a culture and they don't have the same emotional core. And this is just another obstacle that they have to navigate. And I navigate it very often, and I'm still not good at it. And I'm okay with saying that out loud. I am not good at it. Emotional, especially the hormonal teenager. I am not good at that. But at the end of the day, I am dad. I am father. I have a home and an organization and a culture to run. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have to put my foot down, because not because yes, it is because I don't know what to do with these emotions. But what we not going to do is go outside of the scope of what's supposed to happen in this household based off of how you feel. Because I don't feel like going to work today, but you see my bags is packed and I'm on my way. So learning these things behind that, all of that, bro, is growth though. It's all growth. It's all growth. As a man, don't go into that box, Rob. Leave it alone. It's Pandora's. Leave it alone. But as a man, you should always look at growth. You have seen so many of your friends, there's a lot of this comes from my military experience, not take on that role. And that's why some of them are still in the same places. They grown immaturely. There was no growth. And how you dress doesn't define who you are or what you do. But gives you a telltale. Don't judge a book by its cover. How many times have you not judged a book by its cover and been wrong? Not right.
Absolutely. Let's pivot a little bit financially, because my thoughts is that all of the confusion caused by what's being basically presented to the man as how you should be now, as far as more emotionally sensitive and more kind of laid back and things like that. I think this is like the cornerstone of capitalism in my mind. And what I mean by that is capitalism is basically defined by profit is made when people lack two things. They lack knowledge and they lack the desire to do something. So in sense, we're being pushed in that corner. And you made a really good point towards the beginning of the show from a financial standpoint as well, is that economically they want a bigger workforce. So when you push a position to where essentially one, more people have to participate in order for the family to get its essentials, you've essentially basically fed that capitalistic system. But now when you start to diminish the man, when you start to bring him home and now all he wants to do is play video games, watch TV, sit around, do nothing. Now he wants to, outsource all this now. So now you're taking not only his skill set from him, you're taking his money from him, because now is, hey, listen, I'm outsourcing all this stuff now. Like you had said about the TV, raising the kids and, different things like that. How do you see, what financial effects do you see in the families? You do financial coaching just like I do. And how do you see these changes affecting the households financially because of all this pushing it out of the house and outsourcing it to somebody else to do it for us?
The biggest finance thing I see, and I believe time is money, but the one thing that I see is that when people outsource these things, that we discover in a sense that if we took more action and responsibility for the things that we're paying for, we would pay less and then be right back in that box and actually not much further outside of where we want it to be. Like, hey, again, the subscriptions from the TVs, the food, and how people are eating out way more than ever at this point, specifically because, hey, that's another thing too. Groceries has gotten so high that in some aspects it's cheaper to eat out, right? But not eating good food. And then what's the other one that I usually see? The give take on it, on all of this, is that because it usually happens in the summertime, the kids are home more often, that the electric bill goes up, but the having the kids home and the electric bill going up, this is me like throwing an alley-oop to homeschool, is actually cheaper than some of the other things that you outsource, such as daycare, childcare, after school care, and then again, all of the subscriptions. If you took all of that off the table and then you took the responsibilities that you're paying for, not only that you have a better life, but you probably save more money as well.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that kind of, what I want to touch on is just the taking back of those skill sets.
I just wanted to say this, like I sit here trying to be politically correct this entire conversation, and the system has even built it to the point where I feel uncomfortable. And you were saying it and you were like dancing around it, but I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me saying being a man, and why would I feel constrained to stand on a table about that? But that is like the basis of this conversation is, why are we put in a fucking box to feel some type of way to say, hey, I'm a man, I'm a man's man, and why has society drawn away from being a man's man? And I'm not talking about sexual orientation. It is simply the things that men do that push the family and the country forward has been completely erased to everybody's job. And now people can't figure out their piece of the pie, and it costs them more fucking money. That's what this conversation is about. Over.
And there you go. Essentially, without even trying, it's like you almost prove the point of the show that we're talking about today, because of, like you said, just, we've gotten to a point now that where we feel like we got to dance around certain words and dance around certain things. It creates that confusion that I was talking about before that's being marketed, is because now if you say like, okay, be a man, such and such, is looked at as, again, this toxic masculinity, like you're pushing an agenda or something. And now you can't even really say what you want to. Now, again, now you confuse. You like, okay, so what do I say here? And then in turn, what that does is it gives away control, because now you're looking outside of yourself, for somebody to say, well, tell me what to do then. And as men, we can't do that. We have to stand firm on what it is that we are. And I'm not sitting there saying you have, like, Rob, talked about it earlier. I'm not sitting there saying, okay, then that means my woman has to do this and she has to do this. What I'm saying is, as a man, I have to stand on what I believe in. I have to, do what I feel is right. I can't look outside of me for, validation or to feel like, okay, give me permission to do certain things. Again, speaking from a financial aspect, this is what ends up happening is we give away our power, we give away our control, and in turn, our money follows, because now we're outsourcing everything. we're telling the outside now, tell me what to do. And I will give away my time. I will give away my money for you to basically tell me how to live my life. And if you're ever going to get into a growth, as you had said, if you're ever going to experience any real growth, you have to go outside of, looking everywhere but within yourself. You have to look in yourself and what drives you, what motivates you, what things that you've learned are going to help propel you to that next level. And if you don't know certain things, get out there and learn them so that, you're not as dependent upon this system. Because again, like I said at the beginning of the show, a lot of this stuff is causing dependency. We are now looking to somebody else to say, okay, hey, tell me what to do. And like you said, the best way to handle that is like Kendrick Lamar say, turn that TV off, get out there and do the things that you need to do. And what I'm starting to see lately that I really am liking, and is at the beginning of it, I thought it was weird, but now that I'm seeing it, it makes more sense. And that's getting back to some of them older skill sets, i.e. farming, i.e. raising like chickens and stuff like that, learning, carpentry and stuff like, stuff that, hands-on stuff to where you're no longer reliant upon that system. And a lot of what I'm seeing when people do that is it's actually a lot less expensive when you go and do that. You know what I'm saying? So speaking from a financial place, talking about this, how to strengthen us as men, that's how you strengthen yourself. And that's how you also strengthen your pocket by learning certain skill sets and, start to rely more upon yourself and do those things. There's nothing wrong with getting help. Now, I mean, not, completely just bash, because I get a lot of help. I'm not even going to lie to you. I get a lot of help because of what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, it doesn't, and we talked about this in the last show, it doesn't define who I am. It's just because, I get help from somebody outside of me doesn't mean that I'm going to turn away from my belief system or what I think I should be doing. It's just me saying, hey, and it's going to sound real bad, but I'm going to say it anyway. I realize where my tools are, and that's what I do. I'm like, if you are a tool to me, then that's what I'm going to use you as a tool to basically grow what I'm trying to have go on. But at the core of me, I'm still who I am. Like, I'm not sitting there saying, hey, tell me what to do. I'm sitting there saying, hey, I need your help right now for this. And that goes inside the house and outside the house. I'm like, hey, listen, inside the house, my woman, my children are okay. We are also tools as well. It's okay. Hey, listen, we got this big project we need to do together called life. And we all got our little parts to play in this. So, hey, listen, I need your help with this. I need your help with this. I need your help with this. But you're also teaching skill sets to those individuals at the same time while you're doing this. And that's what I feel is important. And that's what's going to propel us, not just as men, but again, this is a financial show. And again, who you are, your money is going to follow that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So if you're a person that's confused, your money going to be just as confused as you are. And somebody that isn't confused about money is going to be the one that ends up having your money. So I say all that just to say the cornerstone of this conversation, what we're all talking about, is all about getting away from that dependency of what's being pushed in front of you. You're waiting on somebody to tell you what to do because you don't want to hurt feelings. You don't want to look wrong. You don't want to whatever. No, get out there and do what you feel is right and take your power back. And again, once those things start to happen, your life, your money, everything else will follow. So Rob, as closing out here, we can close to our time here. Man, this conversation went a lot of places and I love it. I absolutely love it. What do you think we need to do as men to put ourselves back in that position of control or power in our lives from this standpoint?
Yeah, you need to really look at, and I think I said it earlier, is look at the big piece of the pie, right? What pieces of pie are you trying to slice off? And whether you're a single man, that means you got a whole pie. And if you're in a relationship, then that means you got some slices to divide. You need to decide for your family or yourself what those slices look like. And you need to try to conquer those slices in two methods: by minimal effort, maximum results, and then also maximum results with a low cost. And that will really put you back in the realm of being in control. Now, that's probably more for, I would say not for middle class, but the more money you make, the more money you can put back into those things. And then that will propel you to a better life. But at the end of the day, you need to understand your responsibility and then make those things happen.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's my piece.
So I know you do a lot of work outside the house as far as community development, things like that. Anything recently that you got out in the community and done that kind of will help our men or families in general start to make these strides towards what we're talking about today?
Yeah, I actually have a couple of courses and then I have another one coming up, but strictly focusing on that financial literacy piece. I have the No Gatekeeping webinar that I usually do once a month because I have some reasonable turnouts. I would say the business about the No Gatekeeping webinar, right? It really peels back the onions of what your full financial spectrum should look like. And what we talk about in that webinar, I've never had a person tell me that they haven't learned something new. I had a person who basically had every single thing highlighted the webinar and say, I didn't know what that was for. Right. So even the people who were financially prepared were sitting on something that they didn't even know how that they could use it that way.
Mm.
Right. And so again, that goes back into that empowerment piece and giving power back to the people. No Gatekeeping webinar. You usually do it once a month. I'm gonna start cranking it up to twice a month. And so I highly encourage going to yourmoneygo.com/events and having people who have related to this and say, hey, from a financial aspect, I want to be a better steward of my money. I want to be a better man for my family. Jump on there, get that information, see what it looks like, and then see how we can help you get to the next level. Yeah, that's what I got. What about you, man? What's going on in your life? What you got cooking that'll help the people out?
Well, my flagship product is, the 60-day financial reset. This is my baby. This is what I love to do. And the reason why I love it so much is because especially this show really kind of paints a picture of why we need this. The mindset of the typical person is the biggest thing that's holding us all up from reaching, that level that we need. And speaking from a financial standpoint, that's one of the biggest things. Our mindset is really in a place where we've just given up all control. Like we've just said, you know what, hey, listen, we're relying upon the system to just take care of us instead of us empowering our own selves and saying, hey, listen, I can do this. I understand how this game works. So what I do in the 60-day financial reset is I first and foremost take you through that mindset shift. I help to show you, hey, listen, the way that the game is being pushed in front of you is not how you have to play the game. And so this is what I really go out into the community with, just that overarching message of just learning how to change how you think about how the game is to be played so that you can start playing it based on your rules. And once you understand what your rules are, all the confusion, all the distractions, all that goes away. And you're on a trajectory to not only fix your finances, but to fix yourself as well.
No, that's super dope. That's super
So
dope.
yes, sir. So with all that being said, guys, we have had an interesting conversation today. It is our hope that, we don't look at this and feel like it was an attack, because it wasn't. Me using the word weak men is a way to, as I said at the beginning of the show, I want to rile you up so that you can understand this lesson. I want you to emotionally attach to what I'm saying and what Rob has said, so that when you sit down and start thinking about what you watched today or what you listened to, if you're listening to this podcast on one of the sites, that what resonates in your mind is, okay, not just the lesson we're teaching, but the emotion behind it. We want you to feel this in your spirit and take action upon it. Don't just watch this or listen to this and say, oh, I'm all riled up, and do nothing. This is the whole point of the 7 Cents podcast, is we want you to do something, think differently, and start acting differently so that the results are different and they're more in your favor. So, hey, I appreciate Rob for his insights as always. Man, he really dropped some gems as far as, just the management of the home, the pieces of the pie, the roles, and understand how that works. Guys, if y'all didn't, take notes on this, y'all missed a lot. So, again, shout out to you, Rob. Thanks a lot, for jumping on here and, dropping some gems as usual. If y'all got any other questions, make sure y'all comment down below. Make sure y'all like this. Make sure y'all subscribe to this channel, and we will see you guys on the next one. But before we go, Rob, drop a last gem on them.
I think my number one gem is when you know better, you do better, but just don't be afraid to be who you are when you're doing it. Again, we talk about being men and being leaders, and I don't want to take that away from anybody's preference and sexual orientation. I want to be the best version of me, an example that I can be for the people. And so I say, as a man, because that's what I identify with and that's what I know what it is. And that's where I drive most of my energy to when I'm showing people how to be better people. But when, as a man, it is our role to be leaders and we need to stand on the table and do such, man. So with that being said, Mike, again, thanks for the topic. Kind of drove me crazy because I was really thinking about my daughters and how all of them are different. And I said, you know what? It's not their fucking fault. They can be great. That just means men need to raise the bar. And I'm glad you brought this up. So thanks for having me on our show. And hey, definitely thanks for the topic and the conversation, brother. Y'all have a good one.
Yes, sir. Guys and ladies, this has been the 7 Cents Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. God bless you all.
You just tapped into the 7 Cents, where the mind meets the money and the legacy gets built.
It's your boy Money Mike, the financial Thanos, snapping one myth at a time and leaving no financial lies standing.
And I'm Coach RL, mind right, money right, legacy locked in. If today's episode gave you game, make sure you rate, review, and share it with someone.
Hey, follow us on all platforms and keep the conversation going, guys. DM us your questions, your myths, and your money wins.
Until next time, think deeper, move smarter, and keep building.
This is the 7 Cents Podcast. We out.